I'm gonna do something bold. I'm here at my college and I'm going to make a school project all about Thomas the Tank Engine, using this very rare book, The Thomas the Tank Engine Man. Let's jump in. This is going to be interesting because what college student talks about Thomas the Tank Engine? I really hope to bring some sophistication and something new to the school world and show that Thomas the Tank Engine is not just for kids. And the story of the Reverend W. Awdry deserves to be told. More specifically though, his writing, how it affected me, how it affects other people. It's kind of a literary analysis, if you will. So let's go ahead and jump into that.
I've known and I've known some. Until I first met you, I was lonesome.
If I wanted to show the world how legendary this man was, then I needed to go to a place that still had steam trains for inspiration. I met a lot of like-minded people and learned new things. Little did I know that this experience would be an adventure of a lifetime.
Okay. So I did the meeting with my professor. It's always good to approve these things before you spend a long time on them. And I did my annotated bibliography. Now I'm writing the paper and doing the research.
You're really swell, I have to admit you deserve expressions that really fit you. And so I've racked my brain hoping to explain all the things that you did to me. A mere Mr. Shane, please let me explain. A mere Mr. Shane means you're grand.
The story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
The surprising thing about this project on the Reverend W. Awdry was the amount of attention I received. I go to college, I'm a very sociable person. I crash a lot of parties and, but nobody really knows I'm a Thomas fan. They just assume I'm in animation or writing, and which I am. Thomas has always been kind of that, ask, don't tell kind of thing. But people are asking, like, oh, what are you filming? Or what are you doing here? I just have to tell them, and I was proud of it. And this is what I think is a good lesson to teach people. Like, if you like something, don't be afraid to tell people if they ask. Don't parade it to the world, but definitely be proud of what you like. If you like this video so far, be sure to subscribe. It helps me out more than you know. With that being said, onward to the rest of the video.
I had a railway background, and quite naturally, the interest transferred itself to my son, and when he was ill with measles at the age of 3, it was most natural for me to tell him stories about trains.
Telling stories to comfort his ill son Christopher, the Reverend Wilbert Awdry would later write down these stories and hire illustrators to make the Railway series.
Not even drinking. Here in London on Saturday, I've got a couple of tickets for it. It seemed appropriate to meet Thomas's creator, the Reverend W. Awdry.
He was born in 1911 to a clergyman and his wife. His mother thought he was, quote, not a pretty baby. Unfortunately, all 3 of his half-siblings died young, the youngest from World War I. When he was a boy, Awdry would hear trains from the Great Western Railway at a location called Journey's End. Perhaps it was these subconscious whistle signals that fostered his love for the mechanical beasts which pounded on the tracks, and perhaps the title for the 2017 movie, Journey Beyond Sodor. In 1933, He received his diploma in theology from Wycliffe Hall, Oxford. Soon, he became known as a reverend and a vicar who was obsessed with trains. It was his life experiences that inspired and shaped the stories that we know and love today. In 1984, the Reverend's books would become a TV show from the producer Britt Allcroft, and Thomas would become a global phenomenon. In order to show my peers that Thomas reaches beyond children and finish my college assignment, I traveled to the Los Angeles Live Steamers Museum for inspiration. So, as Thomas would say,
Hold on tight!
with my setup complete, I was able to lock in, concentrate, and finish my paper. After writing for a while, I decided to explore. This was my favorite part of the day. It was lots of fun. I felt like I was on the island of Sodor. My friend even let me drive one of his trains. Of course, driving an engine means maintaining an engine, and I was more than happy to be really useful helping out my friend with his steam engine. I quickly learned how maintaining a steam engine is a lot of work. I also learned how dangerous it could be. I almost got severely burned in the face.
Okay, go. So I'm helping a friend out today with a steam engine. It's really quite interesting because I'm writing about an engine and I'm learning how one works. I just lit a fire, and just like Thomas in The Adventure Begins, the fire exploded towards my face. But luckily, I was able to fling my head back just in time, and my friend turned the valve down. To turn the valve down and I didn't get singed. But you have to be careful, kids, when you're working with real steam engines. Thomas may be friendly, but he also is very dangerous. So hey, it's been a very exciting day, and I also say, go watch The Adventure Begins. After my train ride, I left my briefcase on the train and had to hunt it down, and then I found something extraordinary, something I wasn't expecting, something that only a Thomas man would appreciate. I promise you, I didn't pre-plan this footage. I was just filming the whole time and this happened. Such is the life of a YouTuber, having to forage for your backpack that was left on a train, intentionally I might add, for my friend. But man, sure is spooky. What is that? Is that Thomas the Tank Engine? It is! It's Thomas the Tank Engine. Guys, look what I found. Ladies and gentlemen, we found him. We found an actual Thomas by accident. I promise you that was an accident. That is actually pretty interesting. I did not expect to find Thomas the Tank Engine in the shed. Also didn't expect myself to be in the shed. Yeah.
After escaping the spooky shed, I was back on my mission to show the world how awesome the Reverend W. Awdry was, and to finish my paper on time. So I'm here in a caboose,
Gathering inspiration for my paper. It may look like I'm goofing off with Thomas, but actually it's places like these that inspired the Reverend W. Awdry to write the stories that we know today. You know, this book talks about the Reverend W. Awdry being a very kind and gentle man, as well as being a man who appreciated correction and discipline. That's a kind of balance that society needs to learn from. To have, is what I like to say, the balance of total control and freedom of the soul.
With the deadline fast approaching, I was almost complete with my 8-page paper college presentation. To wrap up my adventure, I interviewed people, rode trains, made new friends,
Has anybody here heard of Thomas the Tank Engine?
Oh, yes.
and learned new things.
Opened up the engine and we hooked onto the motor. And we put a switch right here so that we can switch it back to track power or go back to battery power like that. That's what that's for.
With all the knowledge and experience I packed into just one day, I used it to write my paper, which took almost an entire month.
So, coming out here and reading the Reverend W. Awdry book sure is very inspiring. Now, as a writer, I have to say it's very well written, but it reads a little bit like a textbook. So it's my job to make whatever I read interesting. Of course, I don't have time to read the entire book, but just the important chapters and talk about the personality of the Reverend W. Awdry as well, because that's what's really important, to know what kind of man he was. Obviously, a Thomas the Tank Engine man, just like me. So, let's continue. One thing that I realized about the Reverend W. Awdry is that he put morals in his stories. Because he was a man of God, he was the kind of man that would be unapologetic for referencing such, morals of like sharing, consequences. Bad things happen if you do something bad, like Henry if he's stuck in the tunnel. Or if you're good and vigilant like Thomas, you will be rewarded. That's kind of the idea a reverend teaches to people, and kind of the idea that Thomas teaches to children. There's also something to be said about the design of trains and how spiritual they are. They run on steam, they almost look alive. They are indeed a symbol of what man can do for good. To transport people, to save lives, to open up the world. I mean, trains are obviously very, very influential mechanics. Of course, not everybody understands the sophistication of trains, but no doubt it is quite a very...
But it wouldn't be a complete adventure without one more Thomas the Tank Engine send-off. Check this out.
Ladies and gentlemen, I found yet another Thomas. I haven't seen this one at all in my life anywhere. This is actually really cool. Very nice face. It gives me the kind of vibes of a ride-on that you'd find at Chuck E. Cheese. It's Annie. I'm sure that's Clarabelle over there. It's actually pretty big. The size comparison. This is my hand. Look how big that is. My phone battery is about to die, so I wish I can get more footage. But take it all in while you can, viewers, because this shed is usually closed to the public. Nice to see you, Thomas. But that's just so cool.
As I drove home, I thought about the Reverend W. Awdry. I thought about the future of this channel. I thought about what my professor would think when I turned in this Thomas project. What would my peers think? What will this video be like on YouTube? Well, the time has come for me to submit my paper. And let me tell you, it went better than expected. Turns out, I got an A with flying colors and a wonderful comment from my professor. If you'd like to read it, I have it linked in the description. Hopefully, you learned something new from this video, just like I did. I learned to always be yourself, go for adventure, and to respect somebody who was able to balance their life between the love of trains and the love of God. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe, and hopefully, there'll be even more meaningful Thomas content along the way.
It's very cool. This is my new friend Daniel. We met at this train place, and he was very eager to help me out, and he's a really great photographer, and he's really good at filming trains. So I suggest that you subscribe to his channel. Thanks for helping me out today, Daniel.
You're welcome, Michael. And subscribe to my YouTube channel, Rails of the United States, or you can also follow me on Instagram.
You should have seen Daniel hop on while the train was in motion. It was quite excellent. Oh look, I see Thomas.